great holiday and spent time with your families, which is the most important thing. You know, as I say, this is what we do, but we shouldn't want this to be the defining moment of us. So again, I just want to trust in that everyone had a great holiday and time. Is someone in the background? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, Arthur got to answer his phone and to tell us when that was on.
Two phones ringing.
Arthur?
We need to mute that phone. Okay, but again, I don't know whether everyone heard it or not, but I do want to repeat this. I trust that everyone had a great holiday and spent time with your family, which is the most important thing. As we've all stated before, this gig that we do is very important, but it's not the most important thing that we do. And we don't want it to define us, but what we want to define us is, you know, how we treat our family and our fellow men and women's in this community. So we do appreciate everyone being here. This is a work session, as we all know. No action is taken. It's in preparation for tomorrow council meeting, which is the first one of the month. So I am calling this meeting to order. And at this time, I'd like to call on Councilman Gordy to lead us with the invocation. Councilman Gordy.
All right, let's pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for another day, Father. I just thank you for this group. Lord, I just pray that as we meet, Father, that we just have your will in our hearts, Lord, that we come to serve this community, to serve our citizens to the best of our ability, Father. And I just pray that we follow your will, Lord. I just pray for Assistant Chief Gail Green's family, Lord. I pray for peace and comfort and strength for them, Lord. I pray that you help us to remember the life that she lived, Lord. She lived such a good servant life for you. And I just thank you for the service she provided this city and this community and all the lives she touched, Father. I just pray that you help us to follow her example, Lord, the servant leadership example she showed, Father, as we continue day to day to strive to serve you and to serve this community. So in Jesus' name I pray all these things. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Councilman Gordy. We do have some requests, Council. The first one is Cameron Franklin and Kayla Woods. Are you all out there in Zoom land? Are they out there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sean, I heard you.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm wanting to be wanting my address to be annexed into the city.
And this Mr. Franklin?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Is Mrs. Woods along with you in this request?
Yes, sir. We were told that only one person could speak, though.
Okay. Which is correct. I just wanted to make sure we gave her a chance if it was different.
Yes, sir. She is sitting next to me.
Okay. Could someone, that phone, let's wait till the phone start ringing so we can make sure everyone can hear us. It's okay. Mr. Day?
He's too busy. He's the one said mute your phones.
I'm good. Go ahead. I'm good. He just needs to unplug.
We waited on you.
Tell himself.
I'm good. Go ahead.
All right. So we did hear from Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, there's a process that you go through that is, and council member, if I'm speaking out of turn, you all please interject and make sure we're on the same page, or if I'm missing something, make sure it's corrected. But yeah, there's a process that it has to go through as far as your property being annexed. And correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman, Mr. Hunter, that it has to go through our planning commission first. And we look at all that, we look at that in that process, Mr. Franklin and Mrs. Woods. And typically when it comes to us, providing that everything has been done correctly, the council in the past hasn't had any problem, voting and supporting that. However, it has to go through the correct process. And
you have moratorium, Mayor.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. We do have a moratorium on annexation, and thank you. I'm off basis, but thank you so much. The reason for that, Mr. Franklin, is the moratorium. It has to make financial sense for us to annex property in it. And we have annexed some, but it's been basically businesses or other contiguous property. But we do have a moratorium on it. And at this time, you know, we will have to look at it. But if it's just personal property, typically we haven't because of the moratorium, we haven't annexed any property in.
All right. We bought a house expecting to have trash pickup because all of our neighbors do, and they're the ones that told us that we had to go through this process to be able to get it.
Okay, you said your neighbors are they annexed in the city?
Yes, sir. All of my neighbors have trash pickup except for me. So I talked to my neighbor across the yard, and he told me that they had to be annexed in whenever they moved into their house.
How long ago was that?
When they moved in, I think it might have been 10 years ago.
Okay, well, the reason why I asked, because the moratorium has been put in place about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. So that very well could have been the case.
Okay.
Steve, can you hear me?
Steve?
Steve Smith.
Yes, I can hear you.
As far as the service, we ran across this before. As far as the pickup service, wasn't it some of the residents of Russell County allowed to get in touch with the service themselves, but they would have to go through that process?
Yeah, if he's in Russell County, of course, I believe the address is in Lee County.
Yes, Lee County, Phenix City, Lee County, yeah.
Yeah, and Lee County doesn't have curbside garbage pickup. You have to carry it to their dump, or you have to contract, with a company individually to come and pick yours up. But if the house is surrounded by other property that's in the city and would not, cost the city, to have to annex, it's something that the council could look at.
We have several on that stretch. There's several places that's in and several that's out, that's scattered on Mimosa. So
And
we
that's
probably have to take a look at that to see what's going on, but it's moratorium still setting in place.
Mr. Franklin and Ms. Woods, did you all hear that?
Yes, sir.
All right, it
You know,
will
he
be
still
looked
would have
at,
to
but
go.
we're not making any promises to you. But as you've just heard from our city manager, it will be looked at, but we don't want to make any promises to you. However, again, and I thank you, Mr. Hunter, for reminding me, we do have a moratorium on annexation unless it makes financial sense for a return for the city.
Also, Mayor, he still would have to go through the process of first submitting to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, okay.
And having the Planning Commission review it and make a recommendation before it could come to the City Council.
And just so I can reiterate, this is Angel. What we've been doing since this moratorium has been in place is we've been recommending that everyone approach the City Council at a work session so that they can either give their blessings to continue with the process through Planning Commission, if it's going to be economically feasible, or if this is one of the things that, council thinks that they would annex in. So, I mean, that's how we've done all the other ones before they get to Planning Commission. We sort of get the feeling from City Council, is this something that they believe is economically feasible and want to go forward and annex the property or not?
So I'm to understand that he need to wait until he hear from the, they're investigated by the City Council, City Manager. That's what I'm understanding, Angel.
Well, I mean, in the past, the only thing that we've had annexed since the moratorium has basically been commercial properties, because the city's going to see some type of economic impact from those. So we have not annexed any residential property since the moratorium has been on.
Okay, so he need to wait until it be investigated. Is that right?
I'll take care of it. I'll talk to each one of you all, and we'll take a look and give them an answer.
Okay.
But again, Mr. Franklin and Ms. Woods, we don't want to make any promises to you, as the city manager has stated, and which is going over and beyond. It will be looked at, and then it will come back to us. But as Mrs. Angel spoken, this is a process, and I knew it had to go through the planning commission, but I had totally forgotten about the moratorium. But that's something that's been in place 7 or 8 years ago, because of the situation of certain part of the area is annexed and a certain part is not, which was done for the wrong reason. So what we decided as a council is to make sure it's going to benefit the city, which benefits the community, so we can continue to hopefully create a better quality of life for all the citizens. So that's the reason why it was we put the moratorium out there. And again, Mr. Hunter, thank you for reminding me. I had totally forgotten it.
Yeah.
Any question, Mr. Franklin or Ms. Woods, that you would like to ask or address this council with?
So y'all are going to investigate it, and then after that, if I'm told to go forward, I will contact the planning committee.
Planning commission, yes.
Planning, okay.
Yes.
Yep, that sounds great.
Okay.
Can I ask something, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Franklin, this is Councilman Bailey for District 1. I know you're not in my district, but I'm just out of curiosity. The people that told you you could, possibly get annexed into the city, are they next door, across the street, behind you?
They
How
are.
does the properties go around you that are in the city?
They are literally across the street, and if you don't drive away from Highway 80, not towards Highway 80, every house that I've seen on Thursday mornings have a trash can out the front of the road, the green one.
Yeah. So leaving Highway 80 going to your house, everybody basically is there until they get to you, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir, exactly. And I'm on the corner.
It's a big gap between Highway 80 and where you all start at. And then when you start, you have several that's in and out. When they did annexations there years ago, the properties owners that was there during that time had that choice to annex in, and they chose not to.
Not to.
But it is, the first part of it is Russell County. The part of Russell County that's going there, as far as we maintain that road, part of the road there. And then you run into the line of the Phenix City portion of Lee County. Am I correct, Angel?
Yes, sir, you're correct. And it's really the portion in Lee County is that's where most of the annexations has taken place along Mimosa Road. There's one that's in Russell County, but the majority of it is in Lee County.
And Mr. Franklin, did you not say? Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I just wondered, is he's in the part of Lee County?
Yes,
Mr.
sir, he
Franklin?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, because Steve, out the trash cans in the city limits is not green. Is that correct? Then
should be
Mr.
great.
Yeah, Mr. Franklin, then you say the trash cans was green?
Yes, sir. The advanced disposal.
Okay. As you heard, Mr. Franklin, Ms. Woods, city manager, at his statement, will have a look at it. But again, I don't want us to promise you anything. But at least we're going to take a look at it, and whatever way that comes is we hope that you all understand and appreciate what we're trying to do, because it's going over and beyond, because we have not annexed any homes since the moratorium.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay. And council, any other questions or comments for Mr. Franklin or Ms. Woods? Okay. Thank you all so much, Mr. Franklin, Ms. Woods, and you all be careful, okay?
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Someone will be getting back in touch with you.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you. Next, we have, along with Sean, is Alex Travis and Rachel White and Jennifer Davison that would like to address the councils on the Bugs on Board program. Sean?
Mayor, Council.
If your name is first, since your name
Sure,
is first.
I will be probably the briefest of the bunch. I'll tell you that I've got two other ladies on this call that'll speak a little more directly to this, but this is, without stealing Alex's thunder from the presentation she put together, it is a subcommittee that's been birthed, I guess, out of the Art Park Committee. We've been on a handful of different inner city trips, and we've seen a project such as this in Tuscaloosa and in Greenville. And so this is a project that's very similar to it. And Mike, do we have the ability to show the presentation, to share the screen or does everybody have it? I guess, Melanie, it was emailed to you. Shannon's in here, I guess.
And what, Sean?
Can I share my screen, Mike, to the presentation? Is that
Sure. Yeah, sure. Give me just 1 second. Yep. If you just want to click on the share screen button, you should be able to do it.
Okay. Alex, are you going to take over from this point, or is it Jennifer?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Can everyone hear me okay?
All right, give me 1 second. Let me share this presentation. All right, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes,
see it
sir.
now. Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, Alex, take it away. Let me know when you want me to click.
All right, well, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for having us present to you today. My name is Alex Travis, and I'm here to give you a quick update on the Bugs on Broad program and to ask for your continued support as one of our community partners. As Sean mentioned, I'm joined here today by Jennifer Davidson with Russell County Extension Office and Sean. And we will have some time for questions at the end. If there's anything that I didn't cover during the presentation, we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
You want on this screen?
Yes, please.
The next one you said?
Yes. It's on the Bugs on Broad intro for me. I don't know if it's changed over for anyone else.
I'm changing it on my screen. I don't know. It may not be changing on yours.
That changed.
There we go.
You just did, Sean.
Yeah. We
Okay,
see it now.
We'll have to do it this way.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I see your picture on the top left corner there.
So the Bugs on Broad program, our mission is to provide a creative, collaborative project between local schools and artists in Alabama and Georgia that will engage our community and attract visitors to our region. This program was formed actually out of the Phenix Art Park Committee. We formed the subcommittee group of volunteers for the Bugs on Broad program, so that's where we come from. And this is an annual community arts program that is connected with a pollinator lesson that both UGA Extension and the Russell County Extension Office do every year. So it connects with the arts and education. It tied in naturally with that. And the elementary schools that were chosen this year were Lakewood Primary School in Phoenix City and Fox Elementary School in Columbus. So those will change every year. It won't be the same schools each year. And we felt that was important to do different schools with each iteration of the program so that every child in our community has an opportunity to participate and not just one or two schools on each side of the river. So this program does connect both the arts and education. It also combines the creative talents of our second grade art students with two local professional artists, as well as a local sculptor. So this year, one bug was selected from Fox Elementary and one was selected from Phoenix City, and they are being reinterpreted by two professional artists in chosen medium. So they have chosen, they'll choose either to do a painting, collage, mosaic, photography, based upon the illustration from the second graders. And step 3 would involve a local sculptor. So we have Lisa McCoy is our sculptor who has agreed to reimagine the second graders' illustrations into 2 clay models. So you'll kind of see that 4-part progression from the second graders' illustration to the local artist's reinterpretation, the clay models, and then ultimately those clay models will be cast into bronze sculptures, little miniature bronze insect sculptures that will be installed within the parameters of Broad Street in Phoenix City and Broadway in Columbus, hence the name Bugs on Broad. And the idea is that with each iteration of the program, more and more bug sculptures will be added as part of the community scavenger hunt. So we think this would be really fun for our community, for children of all ages, adults, and we think it involves a lot of key community partners as well. One of the reasons I really love this project is that the second graders will have a permanent piece of public art to return to in our community for years to come. And the location could change, so we can fasten the bugs to, behind a bench on the Riverwalk or at a business storefront, but that could be throughout the community and change every year. So the scavenger hunt stays going and it's not the same thing. So that's our idea behind it. Next slide, please, Sean. So how do we do it? Through the work of volunteers, community partnerships, and donations. So as I mentioned, we are a small subcommittee group of the Phoenix City Art Park Committee. This year we were awarded a $2,000 on the table action grant from the Community Foundation of the Chattahoochee Valley, and that went towards implementation funding of the program. A lot of what we're doing though is basically aligning existing programming through the extension offices, local art programs, and coordinating volunteers and donations to implement this program and sustain it, of course. I did want to mention our community partners. You may have received a fact sheet with this presentation, I'm not sure, but if you didn't, I did want to run through our community partners really quick. It's a great collaborative group. City of Phoenix City, of course, Alabama Extension, Heartbeat of Columbus, the City of Columbus, Community Foundation of the Chattahoochee Valley, Diversified Metalsmiths in Opelika is our partnering foundry, the East Alabama Chamber of Commerce, Muskogee County School District, Phoenix City Schools, Russell County Schools, Spark Art, Troy University, Uptown Columbus, and University of Georgia Extension Office. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to go over our project timeline really quickly. So this will look about the same each year. So in January, we did our pollinator lesson and art activity in the schools through Alabama Extension and UGA Extension. And in February, we did a art show for the Lakewood primary second graders at the Festival of the Arts at Central High School. That was really fun. And in February, we also received our grant award from the Community Foundation. In June, we just hosted our virtual art show and announced our selections. So that's actually, we ended up doing a virtual art show this year due to coronavirus. That was originally scheduled in April in the Phoenix City Art Park, but we ended up doing that, doing a transition online. So I do encourage you all to go to Spark Art's Facebook page. I have a little note on the bottom of each slide as well as at the end. You'll be able to get a better look at that. If you go to Spark Art's Facebook page, you'll see our video with all the illustrations from both schools and our selections that will be cast into the sculptures. Yet to do, summer we will have our clay models. They are completed, submitted to the foundry, and they will cast those over the summer. And then fall and winter is our timeline to have both sculptures completed and installed. Next slide, please. And that's it. I just wanted to give you all a quick update on the program today and let you know how it's going. This is a really fun project that I love working on, and I'm really happy to be a part of. And I appreciate your participation and your support as well. So I included our contact information. If there's anything that I didn't cover today, or any questions you think of later, please feel free to reach out to me, Sean, Jennifer. We also have Rachel White, who is one of the co-founders of Spark Art, as well as their Facebook page. You'll find the latest buzz about Bob. So I welcome any questions. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Alex. Great job. Council, are there any questions for this group, or particular Mrs. Alex? Any comments or question?
I know that was a lot of information, and so just to kind of brief summarize what you just heard, essentially what it is there are two elementary schools, one in Phoenix City, one in Columbus, that have gone through a contest of, they've learned about bugs and they've drawn their own creation of a bug. And then from that point, you've had one selected, and then an artist chooses to do a specific type of rendering of that bug themselves. So that's the next step. The final step is then there's a casting of that, which will be very, very small bronze casting that'll be placed in and around Broad Street somewhere, and then around Broadway in Columbus, that just essentially becomes scavenger hunt over the years. So you kind of have a piece of very small, kind of hidden piece of art in a very specific place on Broad and Broadway that people can look at for the future. So I know that kind of dumbed it down much more than what Alex gave you guys, but that's kind of what we're trying to do. In Tuscaloosa, they have Monsters on Main, I believe. And then in Greenville, South Carolina, they have Mice on Main. So this is our version of that.
Okay. Any
So
questions?
those are the only two cities that you know of that have this project already, Sean?
Now, those are the only two that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are probably more, but those are the only two that I've physically seen myself.
Okay.
But we're the only community that has the bugs on Broad, particularly.
Okay.
They just have a similar program.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you, Alex, Jim, for your passion on this. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sean.
Absolutely.
If there's no other questions or comments, we will proceed. Okay. Angel, Planning Commission, June the 23rd, Planning Commission meeting.
Yes, sir. We had a couple of items on the agenda. We had an acceptance of a rezone of 1.16 plus or minus acres located at 1600 13th Place. They're wanting to zone it from an R2 to a C2 zone. Ronald N. Shows is the owner. That was accepted by Planning Commission. And at the next Planning Commission meeting, we will have a public hearing, and that would be up for approval or denial, which is just a recommendation that Planning Commission will send to council.
Okay.
We did have the owner there. The owner and a representative was there at that meeting, but we didn't have anyone else. The next item on the agenda is an approval of administrative replat of 3.93 plus or minus acres located at 522 Lee Road 315 and 532 Lee Road 315, Richard Renfro and Charles McLean. They are just splitting that property. It's just inside the planning jurisdiction, not inside our city limits. So, but they were just splitting those two parcels, and it was current use of the properties, commercial and residential. It's got an older house on it and a business, and they're just going to separate business out of it. It is in our utilities jurisdiction, and they do have Phenix City water. And I'm sorry, Mayor, I did forget to mention on the rezone, Mr. Hunter had wanted me to make sure that I told everyone that on the petition to rezone, Mr. Shows has put proposed use of the property as a garage, and that is allowed in a C2 zone.
Okay. Thank you, Angel. Council, are there any questions or comments?
Let me ask Ms. Angel about number 8, the acceptance of the rezone. So that is right across the street from residential property. The building now exists as I can't recall what it is, but how would that affect the residential property that surrounds it if it's going to be commercial and is right across the street from a house, which is residential?
Johnson, it has met all the requirements of the zoning ordinance. It's adjacent to.
Angel, could you start over? We hear a lot of static in the back.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They have met all the requirements of the subdivision. I don't know.
All right.
What she said.
Could you start over, Angel? We have.
I apologize, Miss Johnson. We're getting some feedback from yours. So what I had to do was mute you. I don't know where the feedback's coming from, but it's just sometimes they act up.
Okay. But can you hear Miss Johnson? Can you hear Miss Johnson?
You can't answer.
Yes.
Okay. Put yourself back on mute. Okay. Angel, start over if you don't mind, please.
Okay. This piece of property, it meets the zoning ordinance for a C2 zone. It is contiguous with other C2 zones and, residential property. I'm not sure, what the facility that was on there now was used for. But I mean, it's just a recommendation that Planning Commission gives to City Council. And I don't know, Ray Rogers might be able to give us some more information about the types of use in the C2.
Facility, right now, the facility meets the same thing in the table that it met before when it was an assembly that was there.
Yes, sir.
Additional
building that's in that same table that the garage fits in.
Yes, you can have an assembly or a garage in a C2 zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a VFW or American Legion or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yes, sir. It was the American Legion prior to Mr. Shows buying it, and now he's wanting to do a garage there.
At the same time, he knows that he can't put a car lot back there. It's got to be a garage for repair, but he can't sell cars on that section of the land.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Mr. Hunter.
Yes, sir.
I'm visualizing that property is the foot of 16th Avenue, right there where the old American Legion used to be.
If you turn at the gas station, right there, there, 17th, and you go and make the immediate turn left, it's on 13th place, and it sits right there to the backside. What is?
Yeah, I know it. Okay, thank you.
A lot of bingo there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Hunter, you stated that he could not sell cars from that garage if that's his potential plans for it. What about storing cars there? I mean, you know,
be a
cars there.
Oh, hold on. Ms. Johnson, could you put on mute? Ms. Johnson. Okay, Mr. Hunt, could you repeat that? We still have some feedback.
Okay. It's okay now.
Okay, good.
Question, then go back to me. What it is, it's going to be a garage, so they're going to be repairing cars that's there, probably from off his lot. So it's hard to differentiate between what he's going to be doing there. It should be stored, but they should be ones that he's repairing and moving up to the front to sell, but he cannot sell them from that porch, from that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to Ronnie a bunch about this because I'm in the car business also, and I told him the same thing Mr. Hunter just alluded to, that he could work on cars back there, but the cars would have to go up to the area right there on 14th Street where his actual car lot is to be sold.
Yeah. Exactly.
If he wants to store them, I think they actually do store some now right behind his car lot on the second piece of property there that is behind his building. But this is like a third piece of property that's a little further back that follows that creek that they bought from Mr. Johnny Dudley with the intentions to try to, repair cars there. They have a junkyard down in the country on the Seal Road that all the other parts and everything would go to. So it would not be ever turned into a scrap yard or a dismantle yard, and he knows he can't extend his car lot up to that point. He's aware of that.
See, the key to it, it fitted in. It fitted everything that's supposed to be in that rezoning spot, and it already was an assembly before, and all those fit the same table. So that'll be hard,
That's what I'm saying. Really, it's he just changing what they're doing at that location is all, but it fits both businesses.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Council? All right. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Angel.
I guess too, let me say something. As far as commercial, usually, if it's right, it may increase. I don't see where it would take down the value of the homes that's on the other side that's there, that's in that location right now, that's there.
Yeah, the commercial area can grow and be more and more productive as far as financial fitting that area than the houses would be, truthfully.
Yes. With my banker hat on, it would typically it improves the property value.
It's basically 4 houses that's over there. One used to be a business though, that's straight across from it. It was a business / house.
In the-
On that corner in
in
the
the-
V used to be a convenience store and laundromat right there.
Mhm.
The original chicken coma between the house that's next to it in the curve is where the original chicken coma was. So it was set up, it's coming in there in that particular area as commercial / residential.
Yeah, Chicken Comas was in there. Bragg's grocery store was in there.
Right.
There were several things like Mr. Hunter's talking about that were there that have gone away over the years, but it's that little area has always been kind of commercialized already, even though maybe it had never been rezoned for it. It had always kind of been there, right? Ronnie's just trying to get it zoned correctly now for what it's sitting there.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, again, Angel, thank you so very much. Proceeding on under the city clerk, Shannon, July and August calendars, as well as the upcoming board appointments. Shannon?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. For the month of July, on July 7th, I have the notice of election for the municipal election and school board election, and that's the start of the qualification for the candidates. On July 16th, I have the BRA meeting that will be at 3:00 p.m. There will be a public notice going out tomorrow so that we can look at changing the location date. And that's just to ensure safety, the social distancing safety for the members. On July 17th, and that's July 17th through July the 19th, we have the back to school sales tax holiday. July 21st, that's the end of the qualification for the candidates for the municipal election and school board election. July 23rd is the Alabama League of Municipalities Convention, and that will begin at 8:00 a.m. For the month of August, August 6th, we have the budget public hearing at 7:00 p.m. That will be held at Martin Idle Hour Community Center. Also on August the 6th at 8:00 p.m., there will be the Mayor's Ball Scholarship Awarding Day. August 25th is Election Day. August 29th, we have the Columbus UNCF Mayor's Mask Ball, but that ball, just for everybody, that has been canceled. And that's all I have for the calendars. And we do not have any board appointments at this time.
All right, thank you, Shannon. If you don't mind, I would like to reiterate this as far as the award ceremony for the scholarships, which we all know that we still will award those kids. Originally, I did not know that the public hearing was going to be held on the 6th. Originally, we were planning on having the award ceremony at 7, then we said 7:30, but typically we're out of the public hearing for the budget within 30 minutes, but just didn't want to risk it. So we are moving it to 8:00, which is not bad because it'll be a little cooler. The sun may have gone down a little bit, and we're planning on not being there no longer than an hour. I would hope that all the council members could attend it, but we did change it to 8:00 because of the budget hearing, and but that'll work out fine because it'll be a little cooler because we do know how brutal August can be with the heat. So, but that won't take long. Shannon, thank you so much. And council, are there any other questions or comments?
You're welcome, Mayor.
Okay. Proceeding on under the city manager, the monthly department heads report. Council, if there's anything specifically that you all would like to ask instead of asking each department head to speak for the sake of time, we would like to proceed what we've put in place in the past of being specific for the sake of time. So I always start with you, Mrs. Johnson. Anything you have? Mrs. Johnson, are you there?
Okay, I'm here. I'm here. I had to unmute myself. I did have just a couple of questions. I wasn't familiar with the subdivision Windmark. Public Works Engineering, can you put me in the ballpark where that subdivision is located?
Yes, ma'am. It's over near where the Old
Oh,
bowling alley was.
Ms. Johnson, could you put yourself on mute? Okay, Angel.
It's there near where the old bowling alley was, close to 7th Street.
The movie theater.
Yeah,
The movie theater. I'm sorry.
you're in the proximity.
22nd Avenue with no old Walmarts. That's 22nd, which you go through off 280 bypass. Before you get to 7th Street, it's a subdivision that's set on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
That's right. You're exactly right. I'm taking it over, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, okay. I did have a question about the library. Someone asked, and I don't even know the school system plan as far as reopening and whatnot. They will have a choice, just like the Muskogee County School District is doing, whether they're going to be learning virtually or in classroom instructions. But they asked about the library. Summer programs, if there is still going on. I gave them the number to call because I did let them know that it was closed to the public. But I want to ask Ms. Kilday, can she give me just what does the library look like today? How are you handling requests? If people calling or coming to the library, how does a typical library day look?
Ms. Kilday, are you there?
Yeah, I had unmute. As of right now, the only thing that we really have going on, we have virtual, we have lunch and learn that happens every month, the second Tuesday at noon through the Extension Agency. And we're having a virtual summer reading bingo that the kids can sign up for, and then they can either call us and we can arrange for a time to give them a bingo card or give them their prize at the library. But as of right now, those are the only two things that we have going on because we're still closed. Is correct, Mr. Hunter?
Yes, that's correct.
Ms. Kilday, do you mind sharing the phone number where people can call?
Oh, at the library?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, not at all. It's 334 298 1139. I think that's right. I have too many numbers.
Thank
And
you.
Mrs. Johnson.
No.
Mrs.
I
Johnson.
repeat that. That is the wrong number. It's 334 297 1139.
There you go. There we go.
And Mrs. Johnson, to answer your questions as far as what the Phenix City School System is going to do, they're going to have an option. The parents will to be able to be on site or to go virtual. So they're following the same from the state, of course. This is coming down from the state superintendent. And it's the same thing that Columbus or the state of Georgia is doing. So the parents will have an option.
But Mayor, I want to say something that I found out over the weekend. And I got to commend our school superintendent on this. And I just don't want to throw anybody else under the bus from around some surrounding areas, but our school system have one of the best well-written plans that's been put in place.
Exactly.
I mean, there's people that's looking at that from other places. Randy Wilkes and that gang did a magnificent job of writing it out all the way through. He thought of just about everything, and where people having major confusion, they have addressed some areas and issues because a lot of districts don't know, it's pretty tough on them right now. People are asking all kinds of questions, but as you read through his plan, you'll find that they have answers and they have it staged out. And just in case this happens, this is the way we're going, and just in case this happened, this is the other way we're going. So I've heard some terrific comments from some other school districts about what they have written in Phenix City. I was very proud. And when I first heard of this was Friday. And it's other people that's sending his plan around, the school system plan around for other districts to take a look at. So I was very proud to hear that.
And I would encourage you all to look at it. I tell you a couple of things that he has done and our school system has done that has gotten the attention where other wants to follow is the graduation, how it was done, as well as it's back to school. So, Mr. Hunter, I really appreciate you bringing that up, but they will have an option, Mrs. Johnson, but there is no excuse for the kids not to continue their education on the plan that he's put out there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you. It was just a lot of parents, and just like, you know, if I had a K through 12 child, those just going to be some tough decisions that our parents is going to have to make, whether or not they will allow the child to go in classroom instruction versus at home. But I think that there's some benefits to both. With what I mean, our cases with COVID-19 is surging again. So I know there's a lot of skepticism about going back into the classroom, but at the same time, that act, No Kid Left Behind, I think that whether they're learning virtually or in classroom instructions, the equipment, I did know that even over the summer, they allowed the students to keep their same equipment, their Chromebook. And so that was good. But I was getting questions as to whether or not they could either visit the library, you know, to look up certain things or to, you know, research. And I know that they will have every tool necessary to succeed. And so I do commend the Phoenix City school system as well on making sure that these students continue to learn either way, and that they allowed them to keep that technology device. And so I know we still have some learning going on throughout the summer. So I just let them know that they can call the library, they can continue the reading virtual bingo, and a lot of other lunch and learnings that take place at the library. So thank you, Ms. Kilday, for sharing that with us. And Mayor, that's all I have as far as questions. And I thank everybody for the great work that they continue to do.
And can I say this? Can I say this? Okay. Can I say this also, that we got to be very cognizant of? We have over 400 plus, close to 500 employees. That involves a lot of parents that we have that work right here, got to make difficult decisions on what's going to happen with their households. We're going to be under full stress shortly, because when you start looking at school starting back, it depends on how your family is structured on those decisions. At the same time, we're having to put so many people, you know, so many people are getting exposed. So we're dealing with that too. I'm looking at a report as we talk in front of me, and we have a lot of people exposures. It's hindering and putting a lot of pressure on our workforce. So we do have a lot of people that's out at this particular time, and compounding decisions that people have to make as far as keeping themselves and their families safe. We're getting ready to go through some tough times. You know, we just think it's tough now, but these numbers are increasing, and the decisions where people got to have their kid, you got a household, it's just like the household that's got 4 and 5 kids, football season, baseball, you got 2 over here, 3 over here, and whatever. The safety of kids, and do you put them in school or do you keep them home? Do you have somebody to keep them home? When they come home, are they gonna be around their grandparents taking things in and out? Can people afford to make these changes? Because it's costly to have people to come in your house or put them somewhere where they're safer at. We've never faced anything like this. And our workforce is going to be under full strain with the decision making that people. So I'm saying all that to say this: any kind of help or ideas that people can do to help people that's around them in any kind of way, I would hope they would try their best to help them with the resources and the things that they have to do to help one another, because it is tough on these families, and it's mentally tough right now. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any other comments or discussion? If you're finished, Ms. Johnson, we'll proceed on. Councilman Gordon, do you have any questions or comments or anything?
I don't have any.
Okay. Councilman Day?
I just have just a couple of.
A couple is 2 now, Arthur.
One of the things I like to say, Mayor, this ran for grocery store opened up, and you know what? We got tremendous positive feedback on that. All down where where I grew up at, all back down that way by, down there, and then South Phoenix City as well. Everybody, I love that area. And I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Hunter and Mayor, I had the opportunity. As a matter of fact, I visited down there today before lunch, and that place is well used down there right now. And it makes me feel real proud to be a part of this council, be a part of this team when they, they're doing positive thing like that. Now, as I was leaving for down there, Mayor, I noticed, I'm just curious, I saw these cars with the package on top, thing on top there, Mayor, about 3 of them right behind you just going up in there. Do you not know, Mayor, I looked at the tag, they were from different part of Georgia, stopping in there. I said, man, that's a blessing right there within itself, So that's enough making on that statement, but I like to ask Angel this. I noticed we have the 5th Street South paving just about done. I know you don't know the exact date, but can you forecast a date, end of the month or next month, or what do you think?
Mr. Day, it'll probably be the latter part of July. They'll have to do, since it is a DOT project, they'll have to go through a lot of punch list items, and then we'll have to get approval from ALDOT before the construction signs can be taken down. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be the middle to the end of July. But we do have some good movement out there now. And I know the contractor took off last week, the week of the 4th. But we are hopefully we'll get the asphalt down, and everybody will be happy with it.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I drove down the street on yesterday, and it looks real good. And I noticed the sidewalk just about completed over there. It looks real good. And one other question I noticed, I like to ask this question. The project was sent back to ALDOT on the LED lights. Why was that?
Because they are trying to get ALDOT to approve them. We wanted to take up the poles there in the medians right there on the 280 bypass. ALDOT would not approve Alabama Power to do that because they just wanted to go back in the middle of the median and then just put up some taller poles and not necessarily go underground. So ALDOT and Alabama Power had some issues there. And so now Alabama Power has decided just to go back and put LED fixtures on the existing poles. But I've been working with Mr. Hunter, and we plan to apply for another A-Trip project to get that lighting on the service roads and hopefully go underground with that power. So that was sort of a setback between ALDOT and Alabama Power. They didn't want to pay for to run the underground power.
And tell them, Angel, I spoke on Wednesday with Representative Blackshear, and he's trying to help mediate this thing too and mitigate it.
Well, Mr. Hunter, let me ask this question. Just to be redundant here, I understand that she said they're going to go back with the existing pole that are already there. They're not going to change the poles out to those aluminum.
That's what they wanted to do. That's what they wanted to do. We're trying to make some changes in some of that too. Angel, the other project we're working on with Representatives Blackshear, as far as in our right-of-ways or the right-of-ways when they come down. You want to explain that to them?
About in the different right-of-ways that the DOT have, Representative Blackshear was wanting to set up a meeting with Mr. Hunter, and then our DOT Representative Steve Graben, he's the regional engineer, and get him to come down to Phenix City and actually show him some areas that we know that we have problems within DOT right-of-way that aren't getting taken care of. And like some of the service roads out there on the bypass, you have a lot of buckling because so many heavy trucks are through there, and just a bunch of the alligator cracking. So it's his thought that if he can get them to come down and look at it, maybe we can get some more information or get ALDOT to come down and do some of the maintenance work that needs to be done.
I agree with you, Angel, and Mr. Hunter. I travel those service roads quite a bit, and there's some issues on those service roads as well. I guess.
That's a couple of them. Just keep counting.
Well, there's something else written out. Okay, I think that's about it there, Mayor. We'll move on. That's about it.
Are you sure?
Yes, go ahead. I'll write them up next time.
Anything else you want to ask or about?
No, so that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Councilman Bailey?
I just got about 3. One more than another. First,
I'm
easy,
gonna count
easy. First thing, I just kind of want to touch on what Mr. Hunter was talking about a little bit while ago about the city employees. I'm just curious. I know all of our employees come in contact, with the citizens of our city, but I'm most concerned about the utility workers that come in contact with people when they go to the house, and the firefighters and the police officers. Have we had anybody directly to come down with this COVID-19 that we might be aware of by them having to answer these calls that they answer? Because firefighters and police officers, I'm sure, make many more calls because they have, they can't control any of theirs. Have we had any issues with COVID-19 in any from that direction?
Not directly from the calls.
Okay. I was just concerned about that because, I read about it in different cities and I see it on TV, and that's, a concern of theirs. But I was just, and if we were having that, I was wondering, if we had a plan in effect that would, possibly help us, keep that number down, because the employees of the city and of course, everybody in the city matters. It's not just our employees, but naturally, we got to watch after the employees first, because, that's what they have to do their job correctly.
We've had some exposures where we've had to take people out of commission for a while and put them in quarantine if we go places. But a lot of time we got something to tell us about certain addresses. If we know that particular address has a person in there that's positive, we're supposed to have a list that code comes up to protect our workers, so we know what environment we're going around and going into. But it's hard for a lot of people to pinpoint where they really, the positives are different than a lot of times. It's easier for people to say I'm exposed or been around somebody that's been exposed, or somebody that I know been around somebody that's been exposed.
Some people don't know though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So after, it's a lot of after the fact things that we're doing. So, but they've been taking every precaution to put everything on that they need. See, our outside, mostly people that's going to certain homes, if you're dealing with utilities or something like that, they're protected, but the outside workers are away from most people. But when you're dealing with fire and police, it's directly answering calls. That's a different thing. And we've got measures in place where they're supposed to protect themselves. Our problem, biggest problem though, and I'm gonna say this, and this what people gotta understand, we can do a lot of things here, Mr. Bailey, to protect people. But when you start looking and people wanna call me up or send things to me with some of our workers, and you're in Florida, and you're in these other places, and you don't have any protection on, or you're in amongst a lot of people, it's a lot. That's why I say this thing is gonna grow even tougher, because it's a lot of numbers that are increasing in these places, and you step on people's feet by saying that, but it's the truth. Something can happen, especially when you see a lot of people congregated together. And the key to it, when you start talking about family, immediate family, I got family that came down from Chicago this week. That's not immediate family, but they're family. So I don't need to be around them.
That's
to
correct.
A certain point, unless I'm distancing real good from them, and they said now in the middle of the yard, stopping by waving or something like that. But it's the way people look at things and the chances that they want to take. So it's difficult. This is real difficult.
Well, that's why I was concerned about the firefighters and, the police especially, nothing against any of the other employees, but we had to have the firefighters come to our house the other day for a minor issue. It wound up being nothing, but they showed up, and they showed up to do what they are trained to do. And they shouldn't have to run into a situation that they're trained to do and all of a sudden realize, whoa, wait a minute, I need to back up. These people that live here could be contagious. That's what I was concerned about. When they came to my home, they wouldn't know whether I was exposed or not exposed or any of that. So I'm just, I just keep praying for them and praying for everybody that, this goes through. But police officers, when they answer a call to an accident, or they pull someone over for a traffic violation, they have no choice but to do that. That's their job. And I'm just very concerned about our employees. But it's good to know that we do have some answers of what, some people in town that have, maybe we've tracked them or something. And that was my question on that, if any of that's being done best we can.
Chief Kennedy.
That's all, because we're limited.
Chief Kennedy, do you want to take part of this question?
I can, yes, sir. Mr. Bailey, I don't know what we responded to your house for, but our guys have been told to assume that every call they go on today is a COVID-19 call. We can't take any chances. We don't always get that's what we're doing with these EMA discussions that we have every week, is trying to make sure we keep up with a database, if you will, of all the calls. And to begin with, it was harder to do that. Now that there's so many more positive cases out there, by the time they call 911, they're relaying that information pretty much that is a positive address. So we just have to assume that everybody is positive. We take precautions. They've got specific suits they wear if in fact we do know that it is a positive case and we have to go inside. They also have face masks, eyewear, and again, a suit or a gown that they wear, as well as gloves. And then they have their turnout gear if need be. We've also were fortunate with the grant that Chief Smith applied for. We were able to get some additional, we're going to get some additional HEPA masks that attach to our SCBA face masks that we can wear in the event these N95 or K95 masks run short. We'll have that resource as well. So we just have to assume that everybody's positive, take precaution and doff and don that equipment, and then disinfect themselves before they get in the vehicle, and then disinfect when they get out.
Good. Yeah, they answered my house. We had lightning to hit the deck on the back of the house last week during one of those storms, and they they acted beautifully. My wife was up there and my son, and they acted perfect. They did a wonderful job. They came in, handled the situation, but I was just curious as to how they, are able to protect themselves, because when they came in, there again, that's their job, and I just don't want them, I don't want them exposed if they hadn't got to be exposed. And I don't know whether maybe, if you have to call 911 and you're able, whether the people at the home need to, put a mask on before they show up or whatever, is what I'm saying.
Well,
It's trying to make it as safe as possible for the police officers and the firemen and anybody that has to, answer an emergency call like that.
We got a couple problems with that. Everybody's not being, I guess, honest about everything that's going on. And I will say this, and going back, a couple of cases are positive that we are trying to track down to say whether it happened here or not. Mm-hmm. We have that up in the air also. So you got to do a timeline on what people think of other people that came here that said they've been exposed or they are asymptomatic. That's the problem. When someone else that's got here that may not have it that says that they're asymptomatic, okay, who did that person expose before they went into quarantine? Exactly. It's tough right now.
It is.
And we're also, Chief, we're also reducing the number of, depending on the number of people that we respond to their house with, especially in a medical call, we're reducing the number of people that if they have to go into the structure, we're reducing that as well. If the patient can come outside, that's another thing that a lot of agencies are doing.
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. Well, that answered all of that. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just want to make sure everybody, the public and our employees, all stay safe. But, and I wish everybody would do like Mr. Hunter said, follow these guidelines, wear the face mask, stay separated when you can, try to avoid as much as you can, because you can't see this, this enemy that we're fighting. The next question that I have will be for either Angel or Steve Smith. It doesn't really matter. How does the sewer line extension that we were doing up there on Bridgewater that Mr. Charles Adams and then we're supposed to sign, I guess, the easement papers, are we moving forward on that?
Yes, sir. We are. That's been turned over to Constantine Engineering, and they're doing the engineering work as we speak. And it's probably going to be, 3 to 4 weeks before they finish that engineering work. And then, of course, we'll have to go through the bid process and the other things. But we hope to get that project finished by late summer.
Okay. And last one I got, Angel, if you could give me an update, I hadn't been through there on the Saddlebrook subdivision on that lot that we're doing the watershed.
Yes, sir. Public Works went out there and removed the berm last week. We put sod down. We do have 2 manhole covers or the actual lids that are sticking up. So we have determined that we're just going to go back and put metal plate down over those and tack those down so we can go back over, and that won't be as unsightly. But I mean, I went out there and looked at it. You know, it looks good. We haven't had anyone call saying it hasn't functioned yet. So Public Works did a great job and the contractor did a good job, came in a little bit less than what we thought. But hopefully we will be finished with that one very shortly.
Okay, good. I do have one more question, Mr. Smith. I noticed on the way home the other day that some of the manhole covers have got green numbers on them. Is that the ones they check, and do the numbers stand for something they found that they got to do to that cover, or do the numbers tell you that cover is good? I couldn't tell you how many I saw, but I saw quite a few with the numbers on them.
Yes, sir. We're in the process of doing an inventory, and they're just, that number means that we have checked that manhole. It's in our inventory. It's been inspected. If there's anything that needs to be repaired or adjusted to it, that's in our inventory. And so what we're going through is, and as we've talked before, we're going through each section of the city, section by section, and inventorying all 4,500 manholes. And then once we get all the inventory in, once we get a list of everything that needs to be done to them, then we'll, start the contract work to get a lot of that done. If it's something very minor, a lot of times we're just going in and fixing it right away. But the major stuff we're, making a list on, and we will be coming to the council at a later date to contract that out.
Okay, so just because they got numbers on them don't mean something's wrong with them. I had some people ask me that knew that we were checking them. And I told them I didn't think that just having a number on it meant there was something wrong with it.
It just means that we have inspected that one.
Right, correct. That's what I told them. So I just want to make sure I give them the right information. All right, that's everything I've got. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the chief on one other question. Chief Ray Smith. Chief Smith.
He's not in.
Oh, he's not. Well, Mr. Hunter, you can ask this question. I know with the passing of our assistant chief, they're a police chief. I wonder how's the morale in the Phenix City Police Department. How's that? I mean, I know you got to do their job. I know they're doing what they're supposed to do.
It's what's expected. There's some people that the chief, he's back.
I got it back on.
Working, but he's it's what's expected. It's a sad time. It's a horrible time, but people know we have a job to do and we have to continuously get out here and do it. But that's a heavy impact.
It is.
It's bad. It's going and especially, like I say, on myself and the chief that's been with her the whole time. That she's been in with her career. So it's tough times. So it's worse than bad. To be honest with you, got to understand what's going on in the nation right now with police officers. It's not, they don't have the greatest name, right now not because of what's been done here, but what's been done nationally. Then just like we just got through talking about COVID, we got a multiple amount of things that's going on that can really put people mentally in a bad state of mind. So we're doing everything that we possibly can, to help one another and motivate one another. We have to get out here and do things, but you don't exactly, when you have other things, deaths and have this other stuff that went on years ago, you don't have a pandemic that goes along with it. You don't have it where your whole household is, most of the households of these people that's raising families, they don't know which direction they're going in right now, or trying to get their family in a different. So this right here is, like I say, it's tough. So, Chief, if you want to come in on that, you can.
Well, yes. As far as morale's still very good. Certainly, we all love Gail, and we're going to miss her. But they did a really great job in homecoming and sending her off. We were able to social distance in the church and did some wonderful things that I think made her family understand how much she meant to us. And we're going to move forward. but like anything else that's tough, it's something that we have to learn from and grow from. And make sure we don't forget her example. That's the biggest thing that I want to make sure everybody understands. She gave us a great example to live by, and that's what we expect from our people. Hold each other accountable and move forward, and always remember her.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Ms. Day.
Okay. So I don't have any questions, and we will proceed on, council, with the agenda for tomorrow. That's okay with everyone?
That's fine.
Yeah, as we know, it's the first one of the month. It's at 9 o'clock in the morning, of course, by Zoom. We will proceed with the way we're doing it as we are now. And so 9 o'clock in the morning, I will call the meeting to order. The invocation, which has been confirmed by Pastor Alan Griffith. He will do the invocation. And if he does not, if he's not able to get on, Councilman Gordy, we will call upon you to do it. Okay? Because, you know, with technology, we never know sometimes, even for us. Then after that, we have no presentation or proclamation. And then we will proceed on with the city clerk for the approval of the regular scheduled meeting minutes for the June the 5th work session, as well as June the 16th council meeting. However, we will take those separately because Mr. Gordon was not present at the council meeting, so we will take those separately. Council,
okay. All right.
Okay. Then after that, I will call for a motion for the approval of the call meeting minutes for the June 23rd as well as June 24th budget work session. We were all present. So with that, I will ask that we do it in one vote. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then proceeding on the city council, you know, if there's anything come up between, as I always say, here and yonder, for any unfinished business, that would be the time to do so. But we will proceed on with the resolutions. And on administration is a resolution number 2020-166 to be ratified in reference to authorizing the mayor and city manager to enter into an agreement with the state of Alabama, acting by and through ALDOT to make improvements along 14th Street, 5th Avenue, and Broad Street. This is the project number TAPPC-TA17919. We'll ask the clerk to read that resolution, and after that, we will ask for a motion and a second to approve. As we see, it's 80-20, and we see the total cost there of $603,000. And you see our portion, but that's another great thing that our team has done, and so we're very thankful for that. But I will ask for a motion to ratify as well as a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? And for the sake of time, as I stated, let's try to ask all the questions that's on our mind or that we know is there for the sake of time. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to point out that this is the existing project that we have going on 14th Street. The project budget came in over what we initially estimated 3 years ago, but we were able to go back and get the additional funds through the MPO to the TAP funds that are allocated to our MPO Phoenix City Division.
Yes. And as we've read it, we saw where it came in at 3 years ago. And of course, we've seen an increase to the $603,000.
Yes, sir.
Any comments or questions or discussion? Okay. Also on the resolutions, administration, we have resolution and public notice in reference to public hearing for the proposed 2021 fiscal year proposed budget, as the date has been announced. So what I will do, council, after the reading of that and the public notice, I will ask separately a motion to approve resolution and a motion to approve the public notice. Okay?
Okay.
All minds are clear?
Yes.
Okay. Proceeding on, also on administration, on the resolutions, is a resolution in reference to approving final settlement in the matter of Stacy S. Cook, Frank Cook, and WRC, a minor, by and through his parents and next friends, Stacy S. Cook and Frank Cook, versus the City of Phenix City Civil Action Number CV-18-9082 and an amount of $15,000. We will ask for the reading of that resolution, and I will ask for a motion in second. And I know we all read that. It's, you know, it is what it is, but it appears that we're getting off very well.
I think Mr. Graham did a real good job in negotiating that.
Yeah. Okay, any comments or questions or discussion on that, Council?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I just wanted to say that we reached this through mediation in front of Phil Adams up in Opelika. Me and Mr. McCoon went up and mediated the case, and their first offer in this case, is kind of funny, was $250,000 in mediation, and we ended up settling it for $15,000. So everybody did a good job. The mediator and me and Jim just kind of followed, you know, what we usually do. And the mediator finally, you know, they realized that they weren't going to get a big bunch of money for nothing. And they finally accepted it. And we paid the mediation fee, which was about $2,000.
Okay. Well, what I was proudest of is how you all drafted it, where there's no recourse from them.
No, sir. No, sir.
So we're out of it. It's a done deal. So we can't bring anything up. So on behalf of myself and the council, we appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. Thanks. Proceeding on the administration under the resolutions is we have a resolution in reference to authorizing the takeover of monthly payments to Alabama Power Company for 5 LED or LED area streetlight fixtures located on Crosswind Drive off Highway 431 South. We'll ask the clerk to read that, and I will ask for a motion in a second, council. Okay?
Okay.
Any comments, questions, or discussion?
Mr. Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Those lights, when you said Crosswind Road down, that's in front of Ranford Grocery Store, that road that runs across in front of it, is that right? The street, brother.
Yes, sir. All that
down the hill,
correct.
down the hill a little bit.
Yes, sir. All in the same area right there.
Yeah.
Located on Crosswind Drives off 431. It's right off. It's leading up in there. Because that's called Crosswind Drive that's going up in there.
It's north of Renfro's. Excuse me, south of Renfro's, yes.
Yes, yes.
That's the street lights, Mr. Day, along the loop road, which has been named Crosswinds Drive.
Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you. I want to get it straight in my head.
So we'll ask for a motion in a second, council, and after that we'll call for the vote. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Okay, then proceeding on. E on the resolution and administrations is a resolution in reference to authorizing the takeover of monthly payments to Alabama Power Company for 5 4,000 to 10,005 LED area streetlight fixtures and 16 18,000 to 25,000 LED area streetlight fixtures at Renfro's Market located on Highway 431 South. We'll ask the clerk to read that, and after the reading, we'll ask for a motion and a second. Any questions or comments or discussion? Okay. If not any, proceeding on the building department. We have resolutions in reference to declaring properties a public nuisance and authorizing and directing the Housing Abatement Board to take necessary action to demolish, remove, and clear all building materials, trash, and debris from the following properties. I will not read those today. I will read those out tomorrow. So after the clerk read those, I will ask for approval altogether, council, if that's the pleasure of the council, for one approval for the master resolution. And then we'll ask for a motion to approve them as one. Okay? Is that okay, council?
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll take them as one. And I will read those out on tomorrow. Any comments, questions, or discussion? All right. Also on the building department is a resolution in reference to approving the lowest bid quote from Harrington Paint Company to paint and renovate the Art Center building in an amount not to exceed $34,700. We'll ask the clerk to read that, and then we will ask for a motion to approve this request. It was a big difference in, a huge difference in the quotes of the bid prices. So again, I ask for a motion to approve it for the $34,700. Comments or discussion, council? Okay, if not, proceeding on in the police department. A is a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor, city manager, and chief of police to sign an agreement with the commission on accreditation of law enforcement agencies and corporations, CALEA, for the accreditation and certification for the police department. We'll ask the clerk to read that, and then we'll ask for a motion and a second. Comments or questions? Discussion. So I trust everyone read that, and we see. I think it's a great thing. Chief, it is 36 months. Is the time frame for them to finish it, or
Actually,
what
what
it is? Beg your pardon?
yes, actually, what they do is they actually set the, they give us the criteria, and it's up to us to meet that criteria. This accreditation is actually done by the police department. We write the paperwork, and then after we feel like that we're comfortable for them to come in, they actually bring assessors in and assess our department. This is the kind of thing that will help continue building trust with the community. We can tell you all day long that our policies are good, and our policies are up to date. But what this will allow us to do is have an outside agency come and basically grade our policy, grade our department, grade our officers, and they will give us pointers to make sure that we're doing it right and continue to do it right. Every year, new technology, new court rulings are coming out. So this is what this process will do. It's basically an outside agency that will be auditing us on a daily basis. But the 36 months is basically the time they give us to get ready. Most agencies, and I feel like we will too, will be ready for the auditors to come in well before that 36 months. But that's the typical time frame that they give us to start this process.
Well, I think it's great, and this is something, council, when the opportunity presents itself. You know, I always say there's time to wag our tails. I think when it presents itself, we don't go out just braggadocious or anything. However, if it presents itself, this is something we really need to be talking about, and letting people know how serious we as a council and our departments take pride in knowing this, because at the timing of everything's happening, it to me, it shows an accountability to our citizens that we want to do it right and make sure that we're, you know, putting us out there so we can be held accountable. So I think this is great.
Yeah, I
So
think so too, Mayor. I like to ask the chief a question. Now, you know, Chief, just this past weekend, I was in a conversation, and it was stated to me, I know Columbus is different from other. I mean, there are big agencies over there. I know that. But how are we, as far as, how can I put it? How do we compare with Columbus offices over there? I was told that they are best in the Southeast, and I was just wondering, how can that be?
Well, they
That's
We don't get into that. Our work shows what we're about. Whenever you're ready to put yourself in here to be challenged, where we will prove ourselves at, it's not in comparison with Columbus, Opelika, or anyone else. It's in comparison to being bold enough to grade yourself and bring these outside agencies into here to take a look. Where we'll be successful at is when they look at our policies, that they will take them other places for people to copy. That's how we grade ourselves. It don't have to be with the people next door who we got to work with every day. That starts some feuds and stuff that we shouldn't get into.
That conversation came up, and I said, how can that be?
Have it by yourself, because we don't do that.
Okay.
It was probably some of their employees. And guess what? They saying what they supposed to say. But we gonna say what we supposed to say.
We see Columbus as not as a competitor, but as a partner.
That's right.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you, sir.
Thank you all. Proceeding on the police department, B is a resolution in reference to declaring personal property as surplus and disposing of for the nominal sum of $1 and other valuable consideration to the family of Assistant Chief Gail Green Gilliam in recognition of her 33+ years of public service. We'll ask the clerk to read that, council, and once it has been done, I will ask for a motion and second. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, Mayor, may I speak just for a moment on that one, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I didn't get a chance. I was out of town the day that we had the opportunity to view Gail's body. But I did make it a point to visit her family on yesterday. And I just want to, if I may, publicly extend our condolences to the family. And as Councilmember Gordy stated in his prayer, I do hope that they find peace and comfort. And we just appreciate all that she has done throughout our community. She has made our community one of the best places to live. Her brother, and you know, I'm just going to miss Gail because she quietly sat sometime in the place of a chief, and her demeanor, her spirit, I think I missed that the most. And she always asked about her classmate, which is one of my brothers, and her brother is my classmate. So I didn't get a chance to see him on yesterday, but thank you to you all that spoke. You spoke so adequately about, you know, her impact in the community. You did such an outstanding job. So thank you for doing what you have done in the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay. Thank you so much. Proceeding on the utilities department, resolution A is a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor, city manager, and the city attorney to sign documentation with ADEM to appoint the director of utilities, Steve Smith, as representative to ADEM to provide state revolving fund wastewater loans. We'll ask the reading of that resolution, council, and we'll ask for a second and a motion on that. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Okay. Also on the utilities department is a resolution in reference to authorizing the mayor, city manager, and the city attorney to sign documentation with ADEM to appoint the director of utilities, Stephen Smith, as the representative to ADEM to provide state revolving fund drinking water. We'll ask the clerk to read that resolution, and afterward, we'll ask for a motion and a second for approval. Okay, council?
Okay.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay. Proceeding on the
Mayor, I like to ask this question here. I know you said, you know, revolving fund for drinking water loan. You know, is that a loan? There's money involved that we're gonna borrow. I know we probably end up paying a loan back, but a grant you don't pay back. Is that right?
No, a grant, you just have to make sure you spend it based on what you put in and what you're spending it on. On the loan, yes, it has to be paid back, but this is a revolving loan. And Steve, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Typically, it's at a very good rate, and revolving.
This is something already in place.
Yes, sir. This is a
big part
program.
They
provide funding for various cities to do work on their utilities at a very favorable interest rate of 2.2%.
Okay.
They also provide some grant funds through this to help with the cost. And this is, you know, the funding of the various programs that we talked about earlier. Mr. Bailey asked about the Bridgewater, you know, sewer. This is the funding for that. The expansion at the wastewater treatment plant, the improvements at the lift station, and then the ongoing project where we're going through with all the manholes and the outside service lines and making the repairs to them. And then the water one is for the water line that will come from Glenwood Tank down Somerville Road.
Okay. All right.
Steve, but this one is even better than that one. Isn't this associated with the forgiveness?
Yes, sir. We're under this program, we can be forgiven up to $500,000 per project in terms. So in addition to, you know, loaning us the money at a very favorable interest rate, they will then come back and a portion of that principal balance will be forgiven.
Okay, good. It's good.
That's kind of the grant part that you're spending it like you stated that you will be spending.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Proceeding on the license application, we have a first reading council. It's an application for a bonding company license submitted by Christopher Aaron for Aaron's Bail Bonds Company, LLC, located at 64 Lee Road, 26-8, Phenix City, Alabama, 36870. We'll ask the clerk to read the first reading, to have the first reading, and we will ask for a motion and a second to place it on first reading. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions on that, council? If not, then we'll call on our attorney, Jimmy, calling on you now. Mr. Graham?
Yes, sir. Mayor, we've got one claim on the agenda. That's filed by Daniel Lee, lives at 907 6th Place South, Phenix City. Date of the incident was January the 11th, 2020. He said he was off Colin Powell Parkway going into Columbus. Bent his rim and tire on his BMW, hit a pothole. You've got the memorandum from Angel, and I've also already written him a letter on June 29th stating that the pothole he hit was on a state maintained road, and I gave him AlDOT's telephone number for him to call and file a claim with them. So based on that, I would recommend denial of the claim.
Okay. We hear that, council, and we'll ask for a motion and a second for his approval. But Jimmy, what he filed his claim on the 15th of June. Had it passed his time anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got 6 months.
Yeah. So he 4 days over, wasn't
Yes.
Okay.
But still, you know, the county, I mean, the AlDOT will handle that, so.
Okay. All
You
right.
still want to send in the right direction. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Okay. Proceeding on, Mr. Hunter, anything you want to add or take away?
When we talk about the art center, I think a lot of people may not know this, but we have a good art class that's being taught, that was being taught, is going to continue to be taught at our CAC, Central Activity Center. Mr. Tom Corley, one of our citizens that loves art, he had a teacher at one time, Mr. Milton Lenore, that went throughout the country, all through this country, and became famous. And he's from here, so a lot of the things that we are getting prepared to do and take care of will be coming out next month, Mayor. Especially when we finish with the art center, but we will be talking about some of our people here that took care of a lot of things that done good for this this community throughout. And like you always say, you know, we've produced some great people here, and there's a lot of things that we should never forget. So that's one of the things that we'll be bringing to our citizens once we finish that art center. We hope it will look real nice. We're gonna make sure it look real nice and present that for our art people that love art and people that's still involved in it and taking care of a lot of things. One thing that I'm determined to do, and in the wake of this situation with Gail Green, when you have a person that's still working in the line of duty that passed away, and that was doing such a good job, even with the question that was asked earlier about, looking at Columbus and Phenix City. When you look, and we just did a show for cable TV a couple of weeks ago, myself, Chief Heath Taylor, and Chief Deputy William Alexander, and we was with the NAACP. Gail was the only person, she wasn't with us that particular day, but when you look at that longevity of service, that people that still close to one another that could go in a room with different opinions and come out united, because we're going to make sure things are done right. I want to make sure this community and the impact that Gail Green had on this community is never forgotten. I've got a few things that I look to do in the future, but we want to make sure, because we've had some trailblazers in this city that's done a magnificent job, and I've had the opportunity to work with them during my tenure here and taking a look, at things. Look at our chief that's setting up at the fire department, Chief Kennedy. She came, I can tell you, she came here in April of 1989. We hired 2 females, the first. And God has blessed this area so good for her to become who she is at this point in time, and she's reached that rank. So there's a lot of things we got to look. We look at Gail, we look at the sacrifices that she made and the relationship that her and Chief Smith has had. I look at all of these departments in different areas of people and the experience levels that we do have here. And I think is contributing so much to where we are able to make it through these tough times that we are making it through, because of the experience level that we have throughout. And that's helping this city greatly make it to the point and trying to pass through. I don't know how bad it's going to get, and I hate to think of it sometime, but I wouldn't want to be going through this. And I'm looking at you over there in the corner, Steve. I don't mention you sometimes because you're right here with me all the time. So we got a level of people here that's second to none. So that's why I don't get into the things of comparison, because I will walk anywhere with this group that I have that I work with every day. And the respect that I have for you all, of y'all understanding of what we do every day. So, I walk around with a sense of pride. We I don't mind telling you, it's been trying to get up out of the depression right now, but still yet, even with that hovering over my head all the time, I still know that the people that surrounded me are capable of doing their jobs and doing a good job. And I just want to thank everybody for that. We have some bumps in the road and ups and downs, but for the main part, we cover a lot of ground. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Yeah.
And let me say this before we close out. The announcement for the election of council, as well as the Phoenix City Board of Education, will be announced. We know tomorrow is the first qualifying day, so that will be announced. But going along with what Mr. Hunter said, I think it's a great segue. Each one of us as a council member has some way, form, or fashion has always represented Phoenix City here while we're in our community. Even when we're not in our community, we've always had a sense of pride and to represent Phoenix City, and we've done it great collectively as a council and even individually as council members. And that has made us all feel proud of Phoenix City. But I would tell you this from my standpoint. Last Thursday, as we left the church and as we were traveling out to the cemetery, I had never in my life been as proud as I was. I mean, I always talk about humility and all of that, which is the greatest attribute that we can have. But there's times where you have to wag your tail and stick your chest out. So last Thursday was one of those days that I was so proud that I stuck my chest out, because when I saw how this community came together to honor a person such for Gail Green Gillian, it validated to me that we have a great community. Forget about all that other stuff and that junk, how people try to separate us because of whatever they want to use. But I was the proudest last Thursday of Phoenix City. When you saw those people, standing out with the flag and saluting, all people, I tell you what, I stuck my chest out in a very humble way, because I know all of us share that. And I just want to thank you all for this team and pray to the Lord that He allow us to stay together as a team, because we're doing it for the right reason. And I just want to encourage us to make sure we do. And when the time is right, let's not apologize to stick our chests out, but we're not sticking it out for ourselves. We're sticking it out for this community, which is a great community.
Well, Mayor,
very proud, very, very proud.
Well, Mayor, as I listen very diligently to you and Mr. Hunter, what was being said about Gail. I've been doing Gail for quite some time. At Mama Rock Baptist Church, their church was a member of the Association of East Alabama. Had the opportunity to meet her family and what have you down there. And she was very active in the church. I've been on a program down there with Gail. Had the opportunity to go to her wedding. Had the opportunity to present her with a plaque at the Trailblazer situation with Loretta Rose at Troy University. I had the opportunity to present that plaque to her. She was a very humble individual. She was. I mean, you could feel her spirit. And every time I spoke with her, she asked me how. I remember my family, my brother. She knew my brothers and stuff. She was a good person. She was a example for the community to follow her. And I felt within my heart that we have lost a good-hearted individual. But I always say this, Mayor, and to everybody that'll listen. God is too wise to make a mistake. And everything he does it for a reason, And I like to say to Gail family, I know they probably not listening to this segment, but maybe tomorrow, God is too wise to make a mistake. Whatever thing he do it for a reason. And the only thing we got to do is pray because it's in his hand. And I wish our family much prayer. And the scripture tell us the prayer of the righteous availeth much, And this is something that we all must do. And remember this, prayer can go and travel where no other can go and travel. We must pray for each other. And I say this to you, Mr. Hunter. I said this many a time. I watch, I observe. I watch and I observe. I like the way you and your department head get along. Y'all respect each other. I mean, I have observed that as the 8th year on the council, I have observed that, said that numerous of times. And this is what it's going to take, love. You're going to have to treat folks like the way you wish to be treated. And you'll go a long way. Attitude will go a long way. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
Okay.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Along with what Mr. Day said, Mr. Hunter said about prayer and all. Right now, our city clerk, Melanie Lee, mother-in-law, is struggling real hard with a lot of health issues. And it's I've had several conversations with Melanie about this. And I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or anything for that reason, but we all need to put her family and her mother-in-law in our prayers, especially during this time. She's some tests she's had lately have not come out to be to her advantage. She has a lot of health issues going on. And all of us have lost family members. All of us have struggled with people being sick and elderly, and you just never know what the outcome's going to be. But like Mr. Day just said, prayer is always answered. Not necessarily the answer we want sometimes, but it has never not been answered because God will talk to us every time we talk to him. God listens. He never has a deaf ear. He never turns his head away from you. But we all need to put Melanie, her husband Jeff, and her mother-in-law Mama. I've kind of got to be good friends with Melanie over Mama. And put the whole family together there and pray for them that she will recover from this. But if she doesn't, that, God will bless them in some way of making it be to where they can handle it. But I've got my fingers crossed and my prayers are all going up there with a positive attitude that she will overcome all this and will not be succumb from it. But just wanted to mention that because she has Melanie's been a great help to me and really gotten to grow to know her and all the girls up there, in her office. And I would do that for any one of them and ask the same thing for any of them. But like I said, Melanie is, you can tell she is really close to her. And it's got to be extra hard on them. And I just would like us, all of us to, put a little special something in your prayer each night, as I know each one of us pray on our own all day long, I'm sure. So I just wanted to mention that if we could.
Thank you so much. Before we adjourn, I will say this, we are a family. In families, we have disagreements, but at the end of the day, you still love each other.
That's right.
And that's what I want to encourage that we continue to do because we certainly need each other. And we are a family. and our hearts is connected because we want what's best for this community. So with that said, by the grace of God, we'll all see each other in the morning at 9. And may God continue to bless us all and see you all in the morning by his grace. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.